the self-hosted MacAdmin powered by open source software. Who am I? My name is Andrew. I work in higher ed IT. I'm not a Mac admin by my title. I just do quality assurance for Windows and Mac. But I got interested in Mac adminning because of the Mac team where I work at. They seem to perform some black magic whenever I bring them issues. So I had to figure out what they were doing behind the scenes and understand how it actually worked. So just to center ourselves, I'm going to define what a self-hosted Mac admin is. It's a person who wants to understand and operate a device management system and related tools by themselves instead of using a commercial vendor. Basically, you want to be the Guilfoyle of device management, knowing exactly how MDM and DDM works under the hood, being hands-on with the newest tools and technology, and I need to move my, how do I move these up? That's okay. And owning the whole stack for free. And so I created for myself kind of this pick and place setup for my home lab, and it's built on Docker and Docker Compose so that I can just move it around because stuff goes down often in a home lab. But I guess you could use any container system that you're comfortable with. The main point of this environment is to get MDM and DDM up and running quickly so you can test something, and then you can just take it all down right after. And so our first containers are Nano MDM and KMF DDM, the open source MDM and DDM projects of my liking. And then you could swap those out for like an all-in-one solution, like Nano Hub, which combines Nano MDM and KMF, but also adds in Nano Command for like workflow automations if you want to take a step above what I do in my home lab. And then to go with that, you have to have either SCEP or Acme for some certs in your home lab. And so you could do a simple SCEP if you don't care about Acme and you're still in the before times, or if you want to see how managed device attestation works, then you can use Acme and jump into the future. And then finally, Nano MDM and KMF are hooked into a MySQL database for storage. And so I have these setups running in Proxmox in my home lab to mess with, but something happened the other day that pushed me to organize them for other people to use as well. Another Mac admin friend of mine messaged me on the Slack asking for a simple Nano MDM setup that he could spin up because he knows I have this stuff running in my lab. And me, I answered with yes. I had some random folder on my computer, as I do, that had this exact thing that he's asking for. And so I had to send about 4 more messages to say, hey, remember to do this before starting the container. Remember to use this config file. Here are those files. And if you want this setup instead, you got to use these other files. And it just kind of was clunky and unclear to him what the setup process was. And so it got me thinking, I wish there was a link I could have sent him with some proper documentation and all the necessary files. So let's formalize this setup and make a project around them with the guides to explain how things work. And it should be useful to experienced Mac admins and new ones, and it shouldn't be that much work, right? So I created a few guides for these easy lab setups for exactly this. They're available on GitHub and GitLab. The current guides are based around Nano and KMF, as you might be able to tell. But the first guide is all about MDM certs and which ones you need, how to get them, and what that process is like. And then I cover the various different setups you could have with the micro MDM projects here. So you could either have Nano MDM by itself, Nano with KMF, Nano Hub, and then you could either have SCEP or Acme. And then the next logical step after setting that up is enrolling a device. So I created a guide on how to do that with the VM and sending a test MDM and DDM, MDM command and DDM declarations to make sure stuff is working and kind of get your feet wet and let you go off on your own and explore. And so I could have had this out there. Oh, and I've also made one other guide about using Monkey and Caddy and Docker for some monkey around. And then I could have had this all out there on GitHub from me to send a link to my friend. And then I didn't have to add any extra stuff. I just dropped the link to him, say, there you go on with your day. But I didn't, and I had to send files over Slack, which isn't always very nice. And to go along with these written guides, I made some videos to not have to hear myself again. We're not going to listen to them, but I just demonstrated basically what's written in the guide, and if I didn't fully explain something in the written guide, these videos I just explained my thought process and what a little bit is happening behind the scenes, so that the guide isn't 10 pages long, but the video is a little bit longer. And currently I've only made these 3 videos for creating the MDM certs, and then setting up Nano MDM with SCEP, and then enrolling a device. But I plan to make a video to go along with every written guide that I publish there. I made these videos because I grew up watching stuff on YouTube, and it's usually the first place I go when I say, how do I do this? But there isn't much MacAdmin video guides out there, a lot of written stuff, a lot of good blogs from all of you, but sometimes I just need to see it, and maybe it has a more updated version or whatnot. There is one guy that does make some good stuff explaining the Apple MacAdmin space. His name's Almeida Tech Services, so you should watch his videos too. But so eventually all these docs and project files and videos became Openmac in my head. That's what I call them, and that's how I'm organizing them. I just wanted to separate it from my personal GitHub, because that has other stuff that isn't MacAdmin related, but this space should be. And so I wanted to share these how-to guides, handy tools that I like and I'll use, and just make general videos on the MacAdmin topics to follow along, because that's how I started doing all the tech. And so why would I do this? I know most of this information has been documented somewhere else. Thank you, Jesse, for the quick start guides. But I want to do this for a few reasons. I wanted to make it easier for myself and others to stand up these environments quickly. As someone who tears down their home lab every 3 weeks because I want to try something new, I like to have something that's easy to rebuild. And it's kind of for the same reason that you import a package when programming. There's no need to repeat the effort of somebody else, but you learn a whole heck of a lot when you do. So, and then I also wanted to make open source a bit easier. I feel like some people say I'll just use whatever commercial vendor instead of an open source alternative because it's hard to host or whatever you want to say. But I'll tell you what's actually hard is getting your data outside of the vendor after you want to leave them. And then I wanted to make a centralized place to find this type of information. I wanted to make a good starting point if you're trying to learn these popular open source tools, and a place you could point a junior admin and say, go check this out, and then bring me your questions that you have from that and learn everything you can before kind of grabbing the low-hanging fruit for them. And then I wanted to contribute back to the community, like I think Vaughn was saying. My coding skills are decent, but I find this is a great way to contribute back because people are always looking to get started with this stuff, but sometimes the barrier of entry seems high. So, and then I have just some future plans, hopefully. I want to make these guides available off of GitHub as well, so that in case something happens in the future, per se, they're still accessible, and I want all the guides to have accompanying videos. I want to make a series of guides going more in depth with MDM and KMF, and how to integrate it with Apple Business, using more of the MDM commands and using more of the DDM declarations. I want to make a series of guides using Monkey and AutoPackage to create a fully automated home lab pipeline to keep my packages on my machines up to date. And then my grand goal is to develop my own open source device management service, but in Swift. We'll see how that goes. But if you have a topic or something that you want me to look at or write a guide about, I'm always open to suggestions. And so I hope you can find these basic labs useful for you or someone you know. Feel free to share them, but I just wanted to talk about what I made and see if it was useful for anybody else.